Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, and it is time to do the finishing parts for our Estes doorknob here. So it is decal time. I'm going to take the nose cone off because, well, the nose cone doesn't get any decals. So I'm just going to safely put it out of the way. The orange paint, it takes a while for it not to be sticky, so I'm going to be careful about where I put that. The decals come in a couple different flavors. I've cut some of them out. I'm going to start with these long black strips. So here I have a custard cup full of quite hot water, at least it was when I started. In it goes. I've got a piece of paper towel here that I'm going to use to blot things out. And we're going to do at least the black stripes first. I have part of this cut up, but I did want to at least look at some of the decals in the sheet before we actually get too far. So I'm going to move this just safely out of the way. We will get back to that. Alright, that's probably enough time. Now the two black stripes, they go at the top and the bottom of this section right in here. So I'm going to start with the top one, just because I guess I don't have a particularly good reason. You want to leave this in the water until it just starts to release. If you leave it in too long, it's actually, you want it to have some adhesion left in it because it's kind of hard to work with otherwise. Anyway, I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to put my finger down, and I'm just going to kind of pull the backing. And this is not going to be straight, at least to start. We will worry about that in a little bit. But I'm just going to roll the tube, and as I do that, pull out the backing. As I mentioned in a previous video, there's like a grain of something under there. There we go. In a previous video, I knew this interface here was going to be covered by a decal, so while I wanted it to be pretty decent looking, it didn't need to be perfect. And I mean, it was pretty good, but any little tiny mistakes are going to get covered up. Alright, so now is the point where I need to get this straightened up. Obviously you want the two ends to line up together, and you want the decal itself to be pretty straight throughout. So I've got my finger wet here. This stuff, these decals, they will tear. You know, it is exceedingly thin plastic. So, you know, don't be rough with it. Overall, I think that's pretty good. Now I'm going to smooth it out just to make sure. So I'm just using the paper towel here to dry and straighten as I go. Okay. And that came a little bit, there we go. A little bit off where I wanted it at the very end. Okay, the other one's going to be basically the same, so you don't really need to watch that part. The next thing I'm going to do actually isn't decals. I'm going to use, well, I mean, I guess it is, but I'm going to use these stickers. These are stick-on, not water slides, so I don't need the water for them. Now, if you want to follow the instructions to the T, then you need to break out a ruler, which, I mean, I'm going to just estimate it. I'm not going to truly like measure and draw lines or anything, but it should be 3/4 of an inch from the edge to where that, whoops, let's try that again. There. To where the first decal starts, and the first one's going to be the thinner of the two. These are just stickers, so you know, depending on your comfort level, maybe you find this easier. I actually prefer working with the waterslide decals for a variety of reasons. One is, and this would be pretty important for this, is that you can adjust them a whole lot more easily. Right, so I'm just going to try to get that at a right angle, so hopefully as I spin the rocket, oops, it will stay that way, and I will end up back where I started, or very close to it. And being able to rotate this thing is actually kind of a challenge here. Actually, it'll be the water that I probably should have mopped up too. Not entirely sure how I missed that one, but I did. Alright, and now for the moment of truth. It's pretty close, but it's not quite. I accidentally let it go a little early, so I'm going to stick hobby knife blade in here to try to get that back up. Oh, shoot. There we go. Alright, so the last little bit, you can, hopefully it's not that far off, but if it is close, you should be able to kind of slide the decal a little bit. Alright, is that perfect? No, but it's pretty close. Alright, so that was 3/4 of an inch. The next one, basically I'm going to put it right in the middle. And this is a wide one, for better or for worse. Oops. There we go. Let that be a warning. That tore very, very easily. So this stuff is also quite fragile. So do be careful with it. Same deal here. Just try to stick my hand in the body tube to pick it up and spin it. It's not quite flat. I do want it flat. And as I'm rotating it, that's where it feels like I'm letting more bubbles in than anything else. Especially this last one. I don't know what the deal is with the last one. It just seems to be pretty rough. Alright, that's actually pretty good. Again, these seams aren't quite perfect, but honestly, probably not worth complaining about. Alright, so that's the decal work, at least the sticker decal work. Now, I did want to show you quickly, the rest of the decals go down in the fin part. And I'm just going to remove this for a moment. There are a whole bunch of these little black ones, and I thought to myself, oh man, I'm going to have to cut out so many of these things. But as it turns out, these were actually cut so that they'll fit, they're spaced out nicely. So all you really need to do is just cut them in clusters of 3 like this. Now you're still going to have to figure out precisely where to center them, but that's okay. We'll do one of them first. The other set are even more of these little silvery ones. Oh boy. Again, there are like 40 of them, so I was really kind of dreading that, but they are also spaced out exactly how they should go on the rocket, so all you need to do is cut them like this. Do notice though, there's the one that's far away from the others. First of all, you want to have it vertical like this, not cutting them across horizontally. And second of all, these two that I just cut out, they are mirror images of each other. So make sure that you are using, and I'm sorting them out here over in my pile. Make sure that you are using the right one in the right place. Alright, I'm just going to do one of each of these, one black and one silver, just for illustrative purposes. These go, this one anyway. There's a measurement if you really want. It's 3 3/4 inches, but it's just short of the end of the fin. So I'm just going to eyeball it like so. And then I am also just going to eyeball it for, getting it centered. That looks pretty good. So for smaller decals like this, I put my finger down on one end, just kind of push to get rid of any bubbles, and then switch sides. Okay, now for the little silvery guys. So the silvery guys, they have this circle on the one side. The circle, according to the instructions, is supposed to go on the fin part, and these are all going to lie like this and just fold into the seam. So yeah, that could be a little interesting. Let's kind of fingers crossed, and hopefully this goes pretty nicely. In the meantime, I have a couple more of these to cut, so while that is soaking, I'm going to cut the last few. time wisely. It's probably just about right by now. So this has to go right into a seam. Now if you recall, made the conscious decision not to put a big fillet in there. I typically put epoxy clay on a rocket of this size, and I'm rather glad I didn't, because I think this is going to be somewhat tricky to begin with. Anyway, this is just going to go like so, and yeah, just into the seam as best we can do. I suspect, yeah, that this is not going to be the easiest thing ever. Let's try to straighten it out here and try again. Yeah, so this is a danger that you get with these, though. They can certainly fold up on themselves. If they do, be very gentle. There we go. And I'm pretty sure that there's a tear developing here, so I gotta be careful with that. I'm going to just kind of push this down, and hopefully gravity will do most of my dirty work for me. Take my knife here without the blade, just the cap. I'm just going to kind of tap this thing in. Yeah, boy, this is not easy work. My goodness. All right, I need to make sure my hands are quite damp for this, because this could definitely end up in a nasty tear quite easily. As mentioned, this stuff is very thin. Honestly, I kind of wish that I had cut all these out individually, but no, not really. They might be a little bit easier to place, but oh man, this is not, getting this right in the seam, this is not the world's best place to put a decal. Okay, that looks, oh yeah, see, there's a tear, but it's not a particularly important one because it's in between the little parts. So I just need to be really careful about that I don't rip anything more than that while I'm sealing this up. Oh, yeah, definitely make sure your hands are wet for this. Alright, this is about as good as I think this is liable to get. So I'm going to carefully dab just along the rocket tube for the moment, and then I'm going to dab this direction. Okay. Oops, there's that. Yeah, that's a tear. Okay. It's not too bad though. It's just a little tiny thing. Okay, finger wet there, and just try to get it right back where it should be. Well, that is going to be super fun, because 1 down, 7 to go. Yeah, so that is going to take a while, but hey, that's what it's supposed to look like. It's reasonably good. I'm not ecstatic about it, but it'll do. It's pretty good. All right, so there's one more. I might as well do this. This is an Estes one. It looks white, so I'm going to put it on the black fin. Clearly, you know, this is not part of the scale kit, so don't put it on if you don't want to, but I'm just going to slap this on the black fin. Hopefully it'll look pretty nice. This fin's actually the slightest bit dusty, so make sure that you don't have any dust underneath when you put a decal on. You won't want that. Alright, that's probably good enough. Yep. And then I'm just going to put this up near the top. Oh, and it tore. Well, you know what? Didn't really want that anyway. So, never mind. Good enough. But seriously, yeah, those are incredibly thin. And the metallic ones seem to be even more fragile than everything else. So do be really, really careful when you put all these things on. I'm going to let this sit just for a little bit. Then I'm going to continue the work. You're not going to watch that because it's not It's not worth filming. It's just going to be more of the same. Anyway, so do take your time, go slow, do good work, and yeah, then we'll be ready for the last steps. See you then.